Hi, my name is Brian Hill, and I'm the founder and CEO of Edovo. When I was growing up, my father taught in Folsom Prison here in California. And at night, he would bring home the essays of his students, and he would read them to us like our bedtime stories. That's enough to mess up any kid, but it's also enough to recognize that I could feel the hopes and the dreams of these individuals, and yet it was disheartening to see how difficult it was for them to ever achieve those dreams. But at that age, though, I had no idea of the magnitude of the problem. 12 million Americans cycle through our jails each year. We spend $74 billion incarcerating that population. And what's the return that we see on that investment? More than half will return a short time after being released, a rate we call recidivism. How are we driving such abysmal returns? What are we doing during the time where we have this literally captive audience? We're showing daytime television. Jerry Springer, Price is Right, 16 and Pregnant. This is not a formula for success, especially when we know it works. You see, there are two critical levers that drive better outcomes and decrease recidivism for those who are incarcerated. Getting access to education, vocational training and treatment, and keeping them in touch with their support networks and their family. And yet both of these are constrained. Education, we're not willing to invest. Political pressures, tight budgets make it very difficult for that to happen. And then you go to technology. Predatory companies have kept communication restricted and limited for those who are trying to stay in touch with their family. This is where Edovo comes in. At Edovo, we bring wireless networks and tablet technology into jails and prisons that enables the Edovo platform, a curated collection of educational, vocational, and treatment programming. It allows them to earn tangible things like a GED, college credit, time off of their sentence. Now, I assume that most of you in the room haven't been to prison lately. It's an assumption. So I'm going to want to share just a little bit about how it's working on the inside. I wish you could come in with me because it is a transformative change when Edovo launches. But we're seeing unbelievable changes with decreased incidents of violence, which is improving officer safety, and then significant gains to education, achievements like I talked about before, and then also things like gaining custody of their children back, bailing out faster, and also taking time off their sentence or mitigating their sentence altogether. These are critical changes that change the trajectory of these individuals' lives. I'll never forget, it was in East Arkansas Regional Unit, a prison in Arkansas. A gentleman came up to me in his own words. He said, "I'm a no good, dirty crook. I've been in and out of prison my whole life, but I've never had a reason to be out. For the first time ever, I have a reason. My granddaughter was born 6 months ago, and I would love nothing more than to be home and to read her bedtime stories, but I don't know how to read. So I'm going to take every day, and I'm going to learn how to read on this tablet." And we watched, and he did just that. He'll be getting out pretty soon. We're excited to see him get reunited with his granddaughter. Edovo is changing the trajectory of their lives. But having a good product that solves an incredible problem isn't good enough for government. It's about payment and procurement. So a lot of the innovation about Edovo was figuring out how do we truly scale this impact. Lots of people do little things in prison, and that's not enough. There are 12 million people cycling through. Edovo is scaling, and we do that because we recognize that technology was coming in the door through phone companies. Now, if you know anything about prison phone companies, they're not good. Just keep it simple. But I'm going to share a little bit about how prison phone calls work. So if I go to jail today, I go to San Diego County Jail, I call you. You get a random number on your phone, which you don't answer. 6 random numbers later, you pick up the phone, trying to figure out who this telemarketer is. And you get an operator who then allows you to either go on a clunky website and upload $15, and pay a massive fee and dollars, which you'll pay 25 to 30 cents a minute to talk to me the next time I call you. Or you can take $15 to get a 15-minute phone call right there. This is there's a ton of friction in that conversation. It takes people weeks. The average person in prison is talking to 2 people, and the average person in jail is communicating with about 3 people. Not a strong enough support network for what they need when they go home. Edovo, on the other hand, opens up things like secure text messaging, video calling, messages, photos, all of the things that are important to keep someone in touch with their family. We don't care about phones. We care more about fathers talking to their daughters. This is something I pulled out just a couple weeks ago, randomly off of our website. We actually track, monitor, and try to find the emotion and sentiment of the messages so we can actually help intervene and improve relationships. But this conversation is a simple conversation between a father and a daughter. What you don't see here is right before this, he was telling her about how the Knicks were named after Knickerbockers. And then following this, he was explaining how to fix a problem that was happening with their car. This critical communication is so important for their ability to transition home. So as Edovo looks to the next 10 years, we see a decade of disrupting a predatory industry, a decade of decreasing recidivism, where we can truly change the trajectory of people's lives. I started by telling you about my father, who taught in Folsom Prison. He taught a classroom of 20 in a facility that had 4,000. We've reached well over 65,000 people, and we are on our way to take the entire industry through a structured procurement process that will allow us to sweep the nation. Edovo is exactly what America needs right now. We have to stop this revolving door and unlock the immense human potential that is perpetually behind bars. Thank you.